All right. Okay, so we're going to do two different formulas today. We're going to do product to sum and sum to product, and I don't have a nice little chant for these, sorry. You're going to just want to be really careful with where you're starting and which one you're starting with, and it will tell you, well, typically it will tell you. If not, it should be pretty obvious to pick up. If you have a piece of sine times a sine or a cosine times a cosine, if you're multiplying to begin with, we can turn those into additions, is what they're saying here, okay? So we're just going to follow the formula. You might want now the front inside cover of your book, okay? Because that is where they're going to be, and if we flip a page in our notes, you want to be able to refer back to the formulas, okay? Do we find where they're at? Let's see. So product to sum is at the very bottom right-hand column. Everybody see them? Okay. So those are the ones we're going to work with first. Okay, let's see. Does our instructions? Our instructions are very explicit. Look at that. So they're saying use product to sum to write the product as a sum or difference. Okay. So again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the formula. Let's see if there's some patterns in the formula. It looks like for the ones where you multiply the ones by themselves, you do minus plus, or minus first, then plus, right? And they're both cosines, and then where you multiply by each other, depends on the order, it's different. You do pluses first, then minus, and it looks like the signs, you gotta really watch the signs, but they're all signs, yeah.
On the test, will we get a little paper?
You get the chart,
Okay.
and it has the half angles on it. It's exactly the book. Okay, that book page, and then I added the half angles to the bottom of it. Okay, so you've got your trig chart. Okay, so do not worry about memorizing them. All right. Okay, let me get my page in front of me so I make sure I do it right. Maybe. Where's it at? Sum the product. All right. So this is going to be the U. This is going to be the V. Okay. What does a sine times or cosine times a sine, how do all of them start actually? 1/2. Okay, now am I going to put in sines or cosines? Sines, so they're both sines. What operational symbol between the two signs? Is it plus or minus? Minus, and then in here, did it go minus first or plus first? Plus, and then minus. All we did was we went and found the cosine times the sine formula, and we read the formula, wrote it down. Now I'm going to plop in U and V just like we did the past couple days. So U, V, U, maybe. You got to do them in the right order, or you get it wrong. You shouldn't be getting negatives in here. If we do get a negative, I guess we could get, maybe I take that back. We might be able to because of the even odd identities. 5 and then 4x. All right, we're going to combine like terms. You're going to like these. These are easier, I think. What's 5x plus 4x?
9x.
So sine of 9x minus sine of what?
4x.
X. Done. That's what they're looking for us to do, to just convert it. Okay? Oh, we can get a negative on the inside. It's on this one. All right, we good with 16? All right, let's look at 17. So this time I've got cosine times cosine. How do all of these formulas start? 1/2. Okay, so then we have to decide if we're going to do sines or cosines. So are they sines or cosines? Cosines. Between the two big cosines, is it plus or minus? Plus first. Okay, in there. And then in the parentheses, do we get minus first or plus first? Minus, then plus. And then we're going to plop in the 2 theta and the 4 theta. In that order. Don't reverse the order. Alright, so let's see. Cosine, what's 2 theta minus 4 theta? Negative 2 theta, good. And then 2 theta plus 4 theta. 6 theta. With the cosine, so you're looking at the last column or you're looking at your even and odds in the book. What, with the negative on the inside with the cosine, do we keep it or does it disappear? It disappears. So you have 1/2 cosine of 2 theta plus cosine of 6 theta. And that's it. Don't neglect the parentheses. The parentheses, if you didn't have it, would change the answer. Okay, because this is saying distribute the 1/2 without the parentheses. It's just 1/2 times the first one. Okay, my AP students right now are finding out how important a parentheses is and how that loses them a point on the free response and keeps them a point on the free response. So really super important. All right, 18, little bit uglier. Okay, let's just deal with the pattern first, and then we'll deal with these with those that U and that V. So how do all the formulas start? 1/2, okay, and then it's a sine times a cosine. So do I have sines or cosines? Sines. So sine and sine. What operational sign goes in here? Notice all the space I left, right? Okay. So I'm going to put a big space there. In between, in the first sign, is it a plus or a minus? Plus, and then this one is a minus. All right, let's use some colors here to help you see this next part. So this part here is your U. So I'm going to write my U in there, x plus y, x plus y. Then the next part is my V. So I've got this thing is the V, so I've got x minus y, x minus y. So there's going to be some more algebra to deal with. All right, do I really need the parentheses in this first grouping here? No. What happens? Does anything cancel? The y's cancel. So I have x plus x is what? 2x, right? Because we're adding, so sine of 2x. All right, in this one here, what would we do with that negative sign? So that's going to make it a negative x and a positive y. So what cancels over here? The x's cancel, so I've got plus sine of what? 2y. It looked awful to begin with, but it really wasn't that bad. We prefer it when we can just add and get 1 plus 1 and get 2, right? All right, we're going to change gears. So that was the product to sum. Now we're going to do the sum to product, okay? So this time we're starting with the addition, subtraction, and we are going to multiplication, okay? And again, notice the signs are paired up and the cosines are paired up. One's a plus, one's a minus, okay? You really got to be careful because sometimes the sines first, sometimes the cosines first, sometimes it's cosine and sine and sine, all right? So, but it's always on these. The plus always goes first. In the parentheses, the minus always goes second, and it's always divided by 2. Okay? Again, you don't need to remember it. You need to be able to use it with the tables. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at 19 then. So, we're going to go sum to product, and we're going to find the product in the end. All right. So, what do the formulas all start with? 2. All right. And then sine plus sine, you're going to multiply what two things together? Sine and cosine, good. And then I'm going to put some parentheses. I know I've got to divide by 2. I know the first one is always what? Positive, and the second one is always negative. And then we do the same thing we've been doing, plop the angle measures in there. So 3 theta minus theta. All right. I've got 2 sine. What's 3 theta plus theta?
4 theta.
4 theta over 2. And then cosine. What's 3 theta minus theta? 2 theta over 2. Okay, so we've got 2 sine of what? 2 theta cosine of theta. Again, not really that bad, right? They looked horrible to begin with, but I think the sum to product and product to sum are probably, out of these grouping we've done at the end, the last couple of days, these are probably the easiest ones. They're the ones I like the best. Although I do like sine, cosine, sine, right? Because that's just fun to say. All right, let's look at 20. So we're going to start with what always? 2. Okay, a cosine plus a cosine multiplies to what? Cosine, notice I'm leaving space, times cosine. Good. We know we divide them both by 2. The first one's always positive, and the second one's always, again, I left a lot of space, right? Because I saw this big U there, right? So my U is alpha plus 2 pi. Alpha plus 2 pi. And then my V is just alpha. All right. So let's see what happens. We've got 2 cosine. What's alpha plus alpha? 2 alpha plus 2 pi. And there's nothing that says we have to leave that as one fraction. Couldn't I rewrite it as 2 fractions? Yeah, I'm allowed to break it up with the denominator. All right, and then I've got cosine here. What happens in this second one? The alphas cancel, and you've just got 2 pi over 2. So 2 cosine. All right, what does this first cosine come out to be? Alpha plus pi, good. And the second cosine just comes out to be what? Pi. Now, we can't evaluate the alpha. I've left it like this last year, but could we evaluate cosine of pi? Technically, what's cosine of pi? It's -1. So this is, I don't know if they stopped there because I haven't looked back at the answer book for the homework, but they could turn this into -1 and it'd be -2 cosine alpha plus pi if they evaluated that pi. So either one of those, good answers. Okay? All right. It looks like we get to do, we can do those off unit circle. All right, we only have 1 left. Nope, 2 left, sorry. I'm off. 2 left. I was pretty excited that we only had 1 left. All right. Let's see what happens with these. I think they're going to come out a little nicer than they're looking right now. We're supposed to look at what the instructions to switch to find the exact value, meaning I need to evaluate it with a number. Okay? So, how do all of these formulas start? 2. It's a cosine plus a cosine, so what am I multiplying together? Cosine and cosine. All right, we divide them both by what? 2. What, the first one's always positive, the second one's always negative. All right, and then what numbers am I plopping in? 195 and 105. I'm going to let you catch up. Okay, what's 195 plus 105? 300 over 2. And then what is 195 minus 105? 90. All right, let's do one more one more reducing step here and see if this looks a little bit better here in a second. What's 300 divided by 2? Gee, that looks like it might be on my unit circle. All right, what about 90 over 2? Gee, I know that's on my unit circle, right? So now you're going to go to your unit circle and we're going to use that to find our exact values. I know we haven't done degrees in a while, okay? But we know how to do it at least. All right, so what is the cosine of 150? Good. Okay, and what's the cosine of 45? Good. All right, and then what happens? What can I do to simplify? Can I do any canceling? What can I get rid of? I can get rid of a set of 2's, right? And then I've got across the top, I've got negative what's square root of 3 times square root of 2? Square root of 6, and then 1, 2 left on the bottom. Do not put those together. Those are done. All right, we good with example 21? Okay. All right, this one says that we're going to find the solutions of the equation, okay? I'm going to get it reduced using my, this is a sum, so I'm going to go to a product, because it's much easier to do zero product property. I can't solve it the way it is, right? There's no way to break that up. So, and I'm not allowed to just add those things up. It doesn't work that way. So we're going to go ahead and convert it to a sum to product first, and then evaluate it, okay? So what are the sum to products I'll start with? 2, okay? And then what are we going to multiply together for sine? Sine times cosine, all right? like this, like this. We know we divide them both by what? 2. What operation comes first? Positive, then negative, and then we go 5x and 3x and 5x and 3x. Hopefully doing this, we're going to come up with something we know a little bit better. Okay? All right, so I've got 2 sine, what's 5x plus 3x? 8x over 2. And some of you might do some of the arithmetic in your head and take a shortcut right here. What is 5x minus 3x? 2x. What I mean by that is, could you have done 8x and divided by 2 in your head? Yeah, you could have done that and gone right to this next line. So sine of what? 4x. And then cosine of x equals 0. All right, I'm at the point where I could do zero product property. It just looks weird, okay? It doesn't look like we typically see zero product property. What can I do with that 2 to get it to the other side? Right now it's under multiply. Divide it. What's 0 divided by 2? 0. So I really have sine 4x cosine x equals 0. So I've gotten rid of the 2. Now I'm going to apply my zero product property. So sine 4x equals 0 and cosine x equals 0. All right. So we've got to set both of them individually to 0. So not to 0. I need to look at my unit circle, right? Where is my sine equal to 0? What radian measure? Okay, do I get to use 2 pi? Look, I've got a parentheses. What do I use instead of 2 pi? 0. And then where else is it equal to 0? Pi, good. All right, and then where is the cosine equal to 0? The x value. Pi over 2, anywhere else? 3 pi over 2. And I don't need to worry about writing those two separately because I have a coefficient of 1. What do I still need to do to get rid of those 4's? Divide. So I get x equals 0 and I get x equals pi over 4. And that's it. Isn't that nice? Okay, so I'm done talking for the day. You have time to work on your homework. Okay, so I did post the assignment in haiku. Okay, so we should be caught up. And then what you need to do is get caught up this weekend, because if you don't know how to do this stuff, remember, if you bomb this next test, there is no grade replacement on the final. So you need to make sure that you're doing really well on this next test. And by that I mean we're not flunking it. Okay? You need to probably try to aim for the C or better. Alright. Alright, I'm going to stop talking. I'll be around to stamp in just a couple minutes, so if you need anything stamped, please let me know as I'm coming through here.